Hello and welcome to The Art Hunter. I'm David Hunt. My guest today was born in the UK. His professional career, get this, at the age of 10, playing the lead role in Oliver on the West End. Hello! But then his parents decided to move him to the other side of the world and ended up in Australia. Ruined his career. He hasn't spoken to them ever since. He's played various roles in TV here, and Neighbours and Henderson Kids, and then came along Rocky Horror Show, toured Australia, New Zealand, UK and Europe, and he was gone for quite a long time in that production. There's a great shot over my shoulder of him, very buff in that show. Then enters Julian Clary. Hello again. I know I say hello a lot. So many other shows to talk about, which we'll get to that. And then in the 90s, he created a much loved character, Dolly Diamond, still going strong to this day. And of course, a lot of cabaret performance. He does a lot of hosting different shows, a lot of charity gigs. But he's also a regular on ABC Breakfast TV nationally as Dolly. Like, how amazing is that? So let's welcome Michael Dalton. Hello.
Hello there. God, well, that's such a long intro, isn't it?
And I left out so much stuff.
I know, yeah, but probably best.
So we've known each other for many years. A long while. And what a career you've had. So congratulations on your amazing career.
Yeah.
What was it like, as a little kid, being on the West End, playing the lead role in Oliver?
Well, I mean, it was a long while ago, and I don't remember all of it. I remember being really nervous and, just excited. I was only on twice a week.
Right, okay. Because
there
of kids.
4 Olivers.
Yep, yeah, of course.
And I know that my mum and dad kept all the contract and the script, and it still survives to this very day. And I know that I got £6 a performance.
£6.
And
Wow.
My dad was, "Of course, more than that to get the bloody train to London." It was, and I think they would have given them money, for that amazing experience.
So were you going to acting classes? Is that how?
No, I was 10 years of age and I was in a choir.
Right.
And the choir master said we should audition him for Oliver. And it obviously went well, and they rang up and spoke to my mother, who had a very deep voice. And 1246, because she always gave the last 4 numbers of your phone. And they said about Oliver, and my Iris said, "Oh, what role would he?" They said as Oliver. No, and that was it.
Wow,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what was it like coming to Australia after that success of being like in Oliver?
Well,
what did you think?
My eldest brother moved over, and then my
Right.
sister moved over. So we went to visit them, and after that visit we went home, and my dad said, and we had a round table conference, which we did all my adolescent life, where anything you talked about at the table remained there, whatever it was.
Right.
It sort of worked, and we had to draw a line down the middle of this paper with pros and cons of living over there.
Wow.
And we all wanted to go,
Yeah.
I was 12 and, had some mates, but life over in Australia was sunny and, all that sort of, opportunity.
Yeah. And so therefore the last part of schooling was here in Australia.
The first, when I arrived, it was year 7, middle of year 7.
Yep.
And, I just remember we arrived in Ringwood.
Yep.
Which it was obviously
the Hollywood of Melbourne.
It really is. Yeah. And it was not overly different to London in the sense of we weren't right in central London. We were out in the burbs. But I remember everything being very different. Mullets and grey. Everybody wore grey at the school.
Okay.
And
it's called a uniform, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like my one in England was white shirts and a maroon blazer, maroon whatever. And this was just grey, you know, and I hated the uniform and resisted for as long as I was allowed. I loved being the one that wasn't in the uniform, and it was like going to school with Eliza Doolittle. I was never sounded so English in all my life. That hit me in the luck hole, you know. And but my brother, that's 3 years older than me, still to this very day, he had an Australian accent in a week.
Right,
He
wow.
wanted to fit right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Whereas mine, you know, lasted a little longer.
So when you left school, you know, like, did you immediately think, you know, like, off I go on my quest to be a comedian, an actor?
I always, you know, that was always what I wanted to do. I wasn't any good at maths or science or what are the others? Geography, history. I liked English, you know. But I always wanted to do that. And actually, Ringwood High School was amazing for its musical theatre.
Brilliant.
And,
Brilliant.
Judith Curfey was our music teacher, and she started the Australian Girls Choir.
Wow, wow.
And Rob Motton was one of the main ones for the gang show.
Yeah,
You know, the
yeah.
Scouts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
I
so out
was
of
actually
Ringwood.
really lucky.
It was Hollywood.
Yeah.
It was Hollywood.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So then you got involved in, you know, like, what after school?
Well, I left after year 11. I did year 11. And
Yep.
then year 12, I was at Box Hill College for drama, dance, and
Brilliant.
media.
Yep.
And because I don't think I would have done well at year 12 in school, you know, it was way too much study. Whereas, you know, I could bounce around in Box Hill College and still get my PCE, which I did.
Brilliant.
You know, and it's been very useful for me. And then I went to Rusden, which is a drama college, and I did 1 year. I left after that 1 year and joined the Phones, the a cappella group.
Yep.
And we toured and were on television, you know, with Bert Newton once a week.
Yeah.
And all of that.
It was a very well-known a cappella group, wasn't it?
And they were amazing. And that was, you know, I was 18. I'd moved out of Ringwood. I lived with some mates in St Kilda, and life began, you know.
Yep, right.
Gay life began as well as work.
And then off you went, you know, like, on that career. So when did Rocky Horror rear its head?
I was 21, and it was on in Melbourne with Craig McLaughlin and Gina Riley, Red and Wilbur.
Yep.
And that one there were 6 of us, which were phantoms or chorus, I think is the real word. But well, there were 6 of us. Michael Cormick was one of them, and I was one of them, and others, you know. And that went well. I loved it. I loved Rocky Horror.
Well, and it was so fresh and new back then too, wasn't it? Yeah.
And then I left. I got out of my contract. Sorry, still can't decide whether I'm Australian or English. I got out of my contract, and because I'd met Julian in Melbourne, and
Julian who?
Harry, yes.
Yep.
And
a very famous comedian.
Yes.
Yep.
Still works a lot even now.
Retired a little bit there for it, didn't he?
Well, forced to retire, not forced into quietness, probably, for some comments on national television.
Oh.
That pissed me. I mean, we've all done it. Not that. The comment.
How lucky to be, you know, like, hanging out with somebody as famous as Julian Clary.
Yeah, I mean, I met a load of them because I was working at the comedy club in Lygon Street.
Right, which was a really famous place in the day, wasn't it?
Yes, now it's Cinema Nova.
Yep.
And I was working in the ticket office. And every now and again I'd do a bit of emceeing, but really it was my job. You know?
Yep.
And yes, I met Julian, and, you know, years later, I didn't like you when I first met you. I thought, we're not alone. But yeah, then we became really good mates and worked together in London. And I was living in London, and then he was coming over to Australia, and I worked with him when he came over. That was the best.
Yeah.
Because, you know, who got all your mates to come along and watch, and family, obviously.
Yeah. So you did that, and then you went back into, you know, like, well, you did Rocky Horror
on and
after
off
that?
with Rocky for years.
Right, okay.
Absolute years. I loved it, and I was offered it. You know, for me, that's a winning formula.
Yeah.
Whereas others, you know, may like to, you know, strive for perhaps a different show. It was familiar, and I love familiar. And so it was in Europe, and it meant, you know, nearly every German town that, you know, has got a big enough stage. Italy and Milan and, you know, Amsterdam for the gay games, and I was Rocky, and so I was very popular.
Right, okay. What a great experience that would have
amazing. Yeah, and I loved it, you know. It's one of those musicals that, you know, you're allowed a little bit of naughtiness, rather than, you know, the rigidity of, is that a word, of Les Mis.
Yep.
Sounds right.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Rigidity.
But then, you know, like, I'm not sure if I'm totally right with this story, but I think you did tell me, you'll be able to fix it, that the character of Dolly Diamond, now you were in England and you were looking for some work.
Yes.
And an agent said, "Oh, the only job we've got." Well, you tell the story.
Yeah, well, that was hit. I'd resisted drag, you know, as a career for years, because I thought, I'm a musical theatre performer, and, you know, once they know that you're doing that, you're never that. You know. And she said, "Yeah, I've got this. Oh, but it's drag. You don't do that." And I was like, "I'm going to do it," because I was working as a male vocalist, where you get up, you do 45 minutes in the club, and I'm smart mouth, obviously. You know, and that, some people don't like it because you look like they are, you know, whereas when you're in drag, you can get away with murder. And I thought, I'm doing it, and I went off to Wales, and so I'd gone out shopping to get myself a pair of shoes, which were about that high. I think many years later, but they were that high, and now I'm back down to that high. And had this sequin jumpsuit and black hair. I mean, I looked more like Liza than Liza, you know.
Right.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
It was just everything I wanted.
So it took you on a totally different course.
Yes, I mean, it was work. It was work, and it was familiar. It was, you know, once again, you know, but you spend, you know, X amount of your life trying to get that work, trying to get better work, more money, and, you know, a career out of it.
Yeah, but you've created that career as Dolly Diamond. You know, like, it's a real household name in Australia, and you go back to England every year with Dolly as well, don't you? Yes,
and that's more. I mean, I love both worlds, you know, and I like. I mean, I love London. I'll always be sort of, you know, English born or whatever, you know. I don't want to live in London again. You know, not in January and February.
No,
it's evil.
It's evil because of the weather. The weather.
I hate cold weather.
You
now.
do, yeah.
And everybody says, "Well, you should be used to it. You're from England." I thought, well, that's why I don't live in England, because I just hate it. Just,
and plus you were quite young when you left, so you.
Yes, but I lived in London 17 years in that middle pit.
Yep. Oh,
and now,
that's right,
now, so probably lived in London more of my life than over here, but more of my formative years, you know, were in Melbourne.
Now, what you do a lot of the time now with your cabaret shows as Dolly Diamond is that it's not just you, is it? You've really collected quite a few other people that go on the road with you or shows around. One in particular who has sat on the couch, Tash York.
Yes, love Tash.
Yeah, what a talent.
Amazing,
as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was really smart of you, instead of just being a Dolly Diamond show.
Well, it would be boring, wouldn't it, if it was just one artist? I mean, it's never just, you know, if you want everybody to come to see you more than once a year, you know, you've got to give them that variety, and also you know, you learn that you can get a lot out of others, you know, and you work together in doing duets or comedy or whatever. No, I love that variety format.
Yep.
You know.
So you produce a lot of the stuff yourself as well?
I think, 90%.
Right.
And that way I always get the lead if I produce it myself.
You're always the headline.
Of course,
Yeah.
I don't mind. It's more than I don't mind. I love sharing the spotlight, because that audience then will, fall in love with Tash or Luke Gallagher in the beginning, Justin Clausen, and the list is, is endless,
But what about the, you've got all the on stage stuff, but then behind the scenes, the producing, it's a very different role, isn't it?
Yes, and it's, I'm rubbish at it, really.
Are you?
Well, I'm traditionally rubbish at it. I don't do a budget. I don't do a... the venue want technical specs or tech specs. I'm like, oh well, it's me, it's the piano, and so
and a couple of lights.
Exactly, and so that's what they want as well. Well, your lovely crew will know, these things don't happen. They're planned. Whereas I like them to just happen. So I've relied on a lot of people over the years. Luke Gallagher again, till he resigned a few years ago. No more, he said, no more. It's just, I'm definitely enjoy the creative angle rather than,
But you also volunteer a lot, your time, and you do a lot of stuff for charities over the years, haven't you? They roll you out a lot, and you're very popular on that level.
Yeah, I think, there's, if we're honest, I think, you've got to be part of something you believe in.
Yep.
Movember, I was, really interested in Movember. Both my mum and dad passed with cancer. And when you're asked to do something, I think it would be really difficult to say no, if it's something you believe in. A mate of mine was working for the guide dogs and said, I think Dolly would be an asset. And of course, when do you need me? I think after a while you realise, oh God, it is quite a lot of, but I'll always make room, and I like work.
Yeah. Now, over my shoulder is a photo of Dolly Diamond.
Yes.
And what is the book title that you've got in your hand?
My Unicorn Farts Glitter.
I love the title.
Isn't it amazing?
It's such a great title.
Yeah, and I know the author, and she is such a lovely woman.
Yeah. Now, there's been a lot of controversy over this, hasn't there?
Over drag story time.
Yeah.
I mean, I deliberately... I've never called Dolly drag. Of course it is. I mean, I'm proud of that. But I wanted Dolly to be a character like Dame Edna.
Yeah. Well, and that's something I've always noticed about you. You don't go out as a drag queen. It's your performance.
Yes,
isn't it?
I mean,
it's not
every
you
now
as
and again, a little more nowadays, like, if it's the opening night of Chicago and I want to go out because I want to, why wouldn't I? Why? I'm allowed, And if I've got stuff on that I want to promote, it makes sense.
Right, okay.
So she is out a little more than usual.
Yeah. But that's not how it started, though.
No,
you weren't a drag queen.
No, it would
per
be
se.
just,
Yep.
And I just see that as Dolly going out.
Yep.
I see it as same as visiting news breakfast or whatever,
Now let's just stick with the story time. For those that don't know, there's like a lot of the libraries around Australia and the world, there's been an outcry with drag people reading for kids. A natural thing. It's a beautiful natural thing.
Well, I don't think it's natural.
Well,
it certainly isn't wrong, is it?
It's not wrong.
No.
But a lot of people have bucked up against it, haven't they?
Yes, and there is no, people who say, I don't understand it, I don't, why would you understand it? There is no, It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same as a clown reading it. You
Yep,
know,
yep.
And because their reasoning is that it is harmful to children. And I don't know in what way it would be.
Yep.
And it just seems pointless trying to justify it now. Because I don't agree with any of their arguments.
No, well, I don't
it's
think...
Nonsense.
It's nonsense.
absolute
But
nonsense.
unfortunately, it's
Well,
a bit
and
of
it's topped a lot of us getting work. And
Yep.
I was booked in various places, and they were off. Those events were off.
Yeah.
Storybox Library is different in that we film it in a venue. We've got one coming up in the Alex.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I always try to pick somewhere I'm working, you know,
Yep.
because
So you're going to have to travel.
my dressing room is just upstairs. But no, it's just, I like it. For me, it's a thanks to the venue I'm in, because they promote the venue, you know.
Yep.
But yes, as well. And yeah, I love it because they, it's all about the reading, and they film it and they do story, the pages, and it comes alive.
Yep.
And I get, wherever I go, I get mums or teachers or whatever saying that they love Dolly's reading,
Yep,
And
fantastic.
yeah, I love it.
Now, I mentioned in the intro, ABC Breakfast TV.
Yeah.
Nationally,
Yes.
Dolly Diamond.
It's that's another unnatural one. It really isn't it, and they are.
But I really like the fact, and you can tell, because I watch it every morning
Yes.
as I'm having breakfast, and you can tell they really enjoy having you in there because
Yeah.
it's so different
Yes.
to everything else they're doing.
And yeah, I know the rules. I'm never going to say anything inappropriate. I dance around with the innuendo,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
But you've got to know the rules. You've got to be respectful. I mean, I've been doing it a while now, and there's other stories on, obviously, news stories.
Yep.
Where the fires, or there's there was obviously even more important stories about people losing their lives. And now Dolly Diamond.
Yep.
And it's about knowing the tone of what you're involved in,
Yeah.
and they like that. And
Yeah.
I'm funny,
Yeah, hilarious,
wheeled
I
out,
hear.
and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, and it is. I see it as them being very generous. I know I'm adding,
Yep.
adding whatever I do, but I see that as
Yeah.
very generous and very lucky.
And it must help you a lot when you're out and about
Yes.
somewhere else in Australia, especially where
Yes.
people go, oh, that's Dolly
I'm
Diamond.
really
on."
noticing it more in the last, couple of years. I mean, in December I was on 3 times as their Christmas correspondent, which is obviously nonsense. I gave myself the title. And then I went on, and then it was during the Australian Open. I think I was the Australian Open correspondent. So it's they play the game, and I love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, we're here at the Alex, and
Yes.
we thank the Alex for letting us be here. But you're in the main theatre next door rehearsing as we
Yes.
speak. What is it that you're part of?
It's Ruthless, the musical.
Now, but what I love about it is that it's Dolly Diamond that's in the show, but
Yeah.
you're not performing as Dolly Diamond. I love this little twist.
Well, she's got more of a name than I've got, so we're using that. And it's Dolly as Sylvia St. Croix. So I've got my nails done, and oh God, it's so much more work than I remember.
But because it's a play.
Because it's a musical with you're dancing, you're
Dancing.
singing, you're acting.
And you've
You've
got to
got to
remember
learn the
your
script, David. They're making me learn the and then I get notes with this word was wrong. I thought, oh God, you're lucky I've learnt the sentence. I want to get it right. And I want to be good. you know.
I mean, it's a great opportunity, Michael, don't you think?
Very much.
Yeah.
Very. And the producers said that they had Dolly in mind, which I thought, I'm nearly 50.
Oh, I would have said more 35.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. I definitely feel lucky, and but I thought I can do this.
Of course you can.
Well, And I believe I can now. I've learnt it. 90% learnt it.
Yeah. And how hard?
My bones. I'm tired. I wake up. I crawl out of bed. You know, they're putting that coffee on. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But I don't drink now. I mean, I do drink like a fish, but I'm not drinking before the show or anything. So when I'm doing,
Really?
Amazing. I'm going to win an award. No, but the you know, Dolly has a little glass of whatever. You know, there's none of that.
On stage in a lot of cases.
Yeah. I've had people in London came to see me saying, "Oh, was that real alcohol on stage?" I said, "Yes." And I thought, "Oh, okay," because they're not used to it. Maybe I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
But
so this is a real a challenge,
yes.
But you've really embraced the challenge.
Yes, and you know. It opens, you know, up in a minute, and we'll know if I'm any good at it.
Oh, the critics will be there. You know, like 5-star review.
Abby.
No, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah,
it's going to be exciting.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Now, every year, because you like to get away from winter, even here in Australia, and you go back to England.
Yes.
As Dolly. Do people know Dolly in England, or is it getting that way? Or?
No, I was too long over here, and I used to do it every year, like you mentioned. But we have had, you know, a couple of years where it was all a bit, you know, weird. But in my sort of in the LGBT area, I have a name, but other than that, no, not really.
Okay.
And I don't mind that. I mean, it is what it is. It doesn't matter whether I mind it or not.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's my challenge, you know.
Yeah, to break through there.
Yeah. And I want to, I mean, you know, my next thing I really want to do is pantomime.
Well, I was going in that direction.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to do?
Yes. And whether I'm lucky enough to get it this year, I don't know.
Because it's huge over in England,
Massive,
isn't it?
Yeah, and that starts rehearsals sort of, you know, November-ish, and then runs December into January. Horrible cold January. But I wouldn't mind if it's work, you know, and then I'll run out of there and get over to Melbourne.
Yeah. So are you putting your hand up for it now,
yes.
are you? Right.
Yes.
And what's the chances? Is it looking good?
You know, like anything, there's a lot of them. If they need one more, then I'm in. If they don't, I'm out. Trevor Ashley's just moved over there, so she'll be taking the roles. But yeah, maybe. Yeah. God knows.
But what about Australia though? Although, you know, like you feel as if you can keep on doing what you're doing here, along with shows like Ruthless.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be 8 months over there in England now. As of May, so I'll spend 8 months in London and 4 months, that is 12, isn't it? Yeah, 4 months over here.
Why? Why that long?
Now I want to readdress that balance.
Yep.
And, you know, if there's something on in Melbourne, wherever in Australia, I would spend, you know, a month, you know, in October, whatever. But that's the plan.
Right, but be back here for all the festivals at the beginning of the year.
Yes, I think my midsummer days are over in the sense of producing a show. I've just done 20 years.
But didn't you do 2 this year? Didn't you do 2 shows over midsummer this year?
Yes.
So therefore the days are over and you do 2 shows.
No, but that's the last, 20 years of midsummer that was.
Yeah.
And now, you know, I mean, I'd love to, you know, be involved with, you know, some of the people that I was this year with Chet Star or, you know, whomever. But I'm not going to produce my own show.
Right, okay. And what about, you go off to Perth for, you know, like Fringe World over there?
I don't know. I'm doing Edinburgh in August.
Oh.
The Unburdening.
But Jamoan's doing it this year as well, because you're good mates with him.
Yeah, and he didn't do it last year, and I missed him.
Yeah.
It's The Unburdening of Dolly Diamond is the name of it. And it's all about mental health.
Right, okay.
I mean, not all, but it's a comedic look at mental health.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
Because this is closer. No. I think I had a little bit of a rough patch, and I want to get that out. immediately. If I'm honest, I think I'm through that now.
But it's good to reflect back on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's, you know, most comedians, most performers draw on something that was real.
Yeah.
Because there's more mileage in it.
Well, especially cabaret, you know,
Yeah.
like it's all set around that,
It's
isn't
a
it?
little bit more stand-up than cabaret.
Right.
There are songs in it, though.
Yeah. And you're on stage by yourself, or you've got somebody else with
I
you?
wanted to do it on my own.
Yep.
But
Because it's a bit more personal.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it, you know, it isn't, you know, well, you already know, it's, you know, it is a little, you know, whatever, your real feelings, but you've got to laugh at them.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
well, it's a comedy festival, so you're sort of supposed to. Cameron Thomas is with me on stage with the piano.
Yeah. And you've had a great relationship there
I love
too.
Cameron, yeah, you know.
Very talented guy.
Very,
yeah.
and just charming and
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, Michael, you know, like, it's never ending, isn't it?
Yeah, well, what else? I've got to, you know, we've got mortgages, haven't
True,
we, you know?
true.
And I like, you know, nice stuff. You wouldn't tell from...
But the one area I haven't touched on, and we'll touch on it now, is because you did a role as an older person.
Yes.
A few years ago, and I'm surprised you've never brought that back.
It's
What was it called?
Producing a Different Way Home. And I was the eldest brother in Act 1 and then the sister in Act 2. Oh, God, yeah, that was a lot of work. Holly made me a little lazy, you know, because it's just one thing you've got to do and then you can, you know,
Yeah.
be that. Whereas this other stuff, you know, the work is just incredible. And
So Dolly's lazy then? Is that the word?
I think it's in comparison to Mounting Ruthless or that play, it's a lot easier to do Dolly, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to work as a male vocalist and you could just rock up, you know,
Yeah.
grab the mic and you're moving on up. Now it's that was the era. That's how old I am. We'll meet again. And yes, so I loved that play.
Yeah.
And my God, that was a challenge. And,
I thought it was brilliant. I thought
and it
you
went
were very
really
good.
well, yeah. And I would love to do it again.
Yeah.
It was actually, you can do it as one act with only the brother.
Right, okay.
And I think that might be interesting.
Maybe film it.
Yes, well, it was filmed, but I think it was... Someone was drinking when I filmed it.
Michael Dalton, thank you so much for being on the show today. And congratulations on your amazing career. And there's still so much more to come. As you said, you've got a mortgage to pay.
I hope so, yes.
Yeah.
And I loved it,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, thank you so much for
Thanks.
being on the show today.
Thank you.
I'm David Hunt. You've been watching The Art Hunter. We'll be back again next week. See ya.